Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottinen from the Flourish Academy, where our goal is to empower, educate, and elevate you to create a life that you love through the art and business of photography. In this video, we are going to take a look at content-aware fill inside of Photoshop. But first, please check out our sponsor, YM Camera, for all of your photography needs. And if you're enjoying these videos, please subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your photographer friends. It helps us to produce more videos. My good friend Taryn Boyd from Blue Hippo Photography grabbed this image of me and my best buddy, Nicole Begley. And I love this photo. We were using it for some programs we were working on, but I also wanted to create a headshot for myself out of this image because I liked it that much. So we're going to learn how to remove a person from the photograph using content-aware fill. Now this is being recorded in Adobe Photoshop CC 2019 because this tool has changed. I'm going to begin by pressing Command or Control J on my keyboard in order to duplicate my background layer. Now the first thing I want to do is make a selection. I want to select Nicole, and I'm going to press J on my keyboard in order to grab the patch tool to make that selection. Now you can use any selection tool you want. That just happens to be the one I enjoy using because I can just simply click and drag around Nicole in order to create a selection. How you select is important. I'm keeping this selection close to her, but also leaving a little bit of margin. Next, I'm going to choose Edit and Content Aware Fill. I'm going to move my window over a little bit so we can see this preview, which is actually incredible. It did an amazing job. Now this panel is new in this version of Photoshop, as I mentioned a moment ago, so we do have some new features to explore. The green overlay simply indicates the sampling area that Photoshop is going to use in order to fill in this portion of the image, and it actually did a really good job, and there isn't anything I'm going to change here, so I'm just going to go ahead and say okay. I have that output set to a new layer. I'll say okay to that. Then Command or Control D in order to deselect. And at this point, if I see any artifacting that I don't like, maybe some edges, and you can tell if you click this off and then on, then I'll just use my clone stamp. That's S on the keyboard. I will drop the opacity of the clone stamp, hold down Alt or Option and click to define a source, and just kind of brush over some of those areas. So I am Alt or Option clicking to define, but I'm doing it very often. And I'm just brushing over those areas. Command or Control minus just to zoom out a little bit. Holding down Alt or Option on your keyboard and then clicking the visibility icon to the left of the background layer will toggle all of your other layers on and off so you can see the overall before and after. I cannot believe how well this tool works. So let's take a look at another couple of examples because maybe this was too easy. Okay, let's try this image. And you know what? I'm not going to create a duplicate of the background layer like I did a moment ago because the tool does that for me. So I'm going to press J on my keyboard again to make a selection, and I'm going to select somewhat carefully around Nicole. That is my cat, Fluffy, on the ground. He always has to be a part of everything. So I'm being careful, but I'm not taking a ton of time to make this selection. As you can see, I'm moving pretty quickly. Let's see what Photoshop does with this one by going to Edit, Content Aware Fill, and waiting for that. Oh my goodness, incredible. I'm actually surprised by this. I thought it would have some issues with the ground versus the background, and I see if you zoom in using this slider, you can see that some of these areas are a little bit soft. Let's experiment with this color adaptation and see if that changes anything or helps. No, actually that made it worse. So I'm going to keep that set to default. Let's check the scale button and see if anything changes there. Quite often when I'm exploring a new tool inside of Photoshop, this is what I do. I just click because you're not sure what it's going to impact until you see it. And I don't think it really did anything super helpful there. So I'm just going to say, okay, again, I'm making sure this output is set to new layer. I'm going to say, okay, Command or Control D to deselect. Now I would definitely use the clone stamp tool to repair this area where it's too soft, too blurry. I suppose Photoshop thought there was a depth of field issue there. I'm not sure. S on the keyboard, but I'm going to increase the opacity of my clone stamp, make it a little bit smaller. Alt or Option to click, and then just kind of click and brush over these areas so that it doesn't look like there's an issue. I see a little bit right here. Maybe I should grab this grass and just kind of rebuilding that a little bit. You could take some time and make this look as good as you would like, but I don't think, if you were zoomed out and you didn't know that Nicole was standing there, I don't think you would notice that. Again, I feel like this one may have been too easy. Let's try one more. Okay, I think this is good. I think this is going to be a challenge for Photoshop because we're very large in the frame. There's not a lot of space to sample from. Again, J on the keyboard to access the patch tool. You can use any selection tool you want. Sometimes I will use the polygonal lasso tool. Well, this is going to get really interesting right through here, isn't it? I'm going to have to, yikes, be kind of careful about how I select. And I want to retain some of this. So I'm going to keep some of that grass. You want to give Photoshop as much data as you can. So that's why I did that. So let's go around her this way. And if you let go of the patch tool and you haven't quite made it, it will automatically close that selection. Let's go to Edit, Content Aware Fill, and see what Photoshop can do with this. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So remember I said that green overlay indicates the area where Photoshop is allowed to sample. And I'm covered in green in the image on the left, which means Photoshop is sampling, as you can see, from my shirt. So what you can do in this case is click and drag to remove an area that you do not wish Photoshop to look at. So what I'm saying here is, hey, Photoshop, I don't want you to sample from me. I want you to sample from the background or anywhere else, but not me. So I'm just brushing over and I'm going to let Photoshop try to rebuild that area. And it did a much better job. Now I see some issues down here, some integrity issues with pixels, but wow, Photoshop did a really good job once I directed it not to sample from me. So I'll say okay to that, and then Command or Control D. Again, S on the keyboard for your clone stamp. I'm going to drop the opacity and make my brush a little bit bigger. Alt or Option click and just start brushing over some of these areas because I don't like the way it grabbed and blended those pixels. So let's take a look at the overall before and after. You have to agree with me that this tool is just magical. If you have any sample photos that you're having a challenge with, I'd love if you send them to me. It's Heather at Flourish.Academy. Maybe I could take a look at it. I love a Photoshop challenge and I could use it in an upcoming video. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.